Detroit. And what I try to do is enlighten the people with some good, positive black history. I do it in a couple ways. One is I wrote a book on it, on slaves who own businesses. On another one, I did a documentary on slaves who own businesses. On another one, I host a show on YouTube called Strong Inspirations, where I interview people around the world. I got over 500 videos up there. And I enlighten people of how great we are. But what I want to do today is enlighten you on how great people are in the city of Detroit. And how I'm going to do that is I'm going to let you know that 60 years ago, and a little more than that in a month, they had this march that went down Woodward Avenue. Y'all see my t-shirt, right? Yeah. I volunteered for that. And I try to do that volunteerism all I can. And so we went down Woodward Avenue because Detroit had the largest march for civil rights in the history of America on June 23rd, 1963. See, because what happened was there was a lot of strife going on that time. Racism was wild. It was real bad in the South. Not saying we don't have some now, but I'm not talking about that. But I'm telling you, back then, brothers and sisters was catching hell in the South. And many of them had fled. I know my family did out of North Carolina, and I'm sure a lot of your families did, or somewhere out of the South. And we came to Detroit, and we made a difference in that town, in this town. And as a result of that difference that we made, there were a couple people in particular, Reverend C.L. Franklin from New Bethel Church, and Reverend Albert Cleage, if I'm saying the right name right. They came together and they formed an organization to start that march in Detroit. Now what happened was there was marches going on all throughout the South. And one of them in particular, y'all see the pictures of what happened in Birmingham when they put the hoses on the people and stuff like that. Reverend King said, hey, we got to keep this going and we need money to fight the cause. So then they were going to do a march in Chicago. Mahalia Jackson was leading that march. Well, the people in Detroit heard about it because we stand up because we great folk in this city. So they heard about that march and said, okay, we're going to help y'all get it together. So they met at New Bethel Church. There was a little strife among the people, but nonetheless, it happened that day. And check it out. It was 125 black folk and white folk that came together and marched down Woodward Avenue. They started and they did about a 3-mile march. It was on a Sunday at 3 o'clock. Hot day. Didn't have a lot of time to get it together because it was supposed to happen. They started planning in May. The thing in Chicago happened in May, and they said, we're going to do it in Detroit in June. Now, it was supposed to happen on June 10th, but they decided with all the strife and things, we're going to make it June 23rd because that was the day that 20 years earlier, they had a riot in Detroit in 1943. A lot of black people was killed in that riot. A lot of black people was hurt. The police brutality was wild. So they decided to have this march in Detroit. 125,000 people showed up. Dr. King came. Let me tell you how great this city was. The city leaders embraced that march. We had a guy named Police Commissioner George Edwards, white guy. He said, we ain't gonna let nothing happen here like happened in Birmingham. So he met Dr. King at the airport. There was no incidents at all on that march. My dad told me he was there. I was only 3 at the time. Y'all can figure out how old I am at that. I wasn't there. But in any event, the march came off with no hesitation, with no problem. Dr. King was so impressed with what happened here in Detroit that he wrote a letter to that commissioner and to the people that said Detroit has put together the March of Marches. And at that point, Dr. King, and this wasn't the first time he did it, had that I have a dream speech. I got a dream that this thing is coming together. I might not see it in my lifetime. Y'all know how the speech go. And so that's the movement, the civil rights movement throughout America was Detroit, Michigan. going down Woodward. Now, check it out. I'm about to conclude shortly. Only 20,000 people went into Cobo Hall. Ramsey Lewis performed, Diana Washington, Aretha. But it was, you know, 125. They had monitors and they was able to hear it on the radio outside of Cobo Hall. And it shook America. Dr. King was so impressed with what happened here, that led to the march in Washington, D.C., where 250,000 brothers and sisters came together in an attitude of solidarity. You can't stop us. That's what I want to leave you. I'm not going to stop this band no further so we can hear some good music. I want to let you know a couple things, if you may. I'm a filmmaker too. I did this documentary called The Great Detroit. I got 6 of them. Anybody want one, I give it to you free. Just come meet me on the side. And then I wrote this book. The book I wrote, Black Business Book, I tell you, 28 instances where slaves owned businesses and became wealthy. Can you imagine you go from slavery to wealthy? I name them in my book. It's on Amazon. Thank you, Barbara, for allowing me to have time to come and for you all. So in the name of love, I'm gonna bring you this band. In the name of thanking you for allowing me to have this moment, go to my website, businessintheblack.net. Because when you in business, that's where you wanna be. In the red ain't good, and there is no in the white. All right? So thank you, my brothers and sisters. Thank you, band, for allowing me to have this moment with you. Check me out, businessintheblack.net. Black Business Book. It's on Amazon. I got some DVDs. Anybody want one who still got a DVD player, and it's streaming on Amazon. All right? Thank you. Have a beautiful day, my people.